Acrylics, one of my favorite mediums. If you're new to painting, chances are you've been using them already. Lacking the solvents that give oils their bad name, acrylics have proven a viable alternative for those sensitive to harsh fumes. That doesn't mean they're non-toxic, however, as they can contain the same pigments found in oils, even the heavy metals like cadmium and lead. When purchasing acrylics, it's important to keep an eye out for a couple key words. If you're an art student at a university, I recommend at minimum artist-grade colors. Acrylics are challenging enough to work with already without adding diluted pigments to the mix. What am I doing here? You'll also want to avoid the word hue, as these substitutes can sometimes be less permanent than true pigments. Because acrylics bind through evaporation, managing their water content is vital to mastering the medium. You may notice that on drier days the paints harden much faster and, unlike with oils, they can be dried swiftly with a hairdryer or heat gun. But if anything, the main challenge with acrylics is slowing their drying time. There are a few different strategies available to you here. My foot hurts. One is to oversaturate the paint with excess water from a misting bottle. This may be the most common approach among beginners, but it has a side effect. When you dilute acrylics with water only, you weaken the polymer binder that holds them together. And if you like the watercolor-like consistency it yields, keep in mind that that's exactly what you've turned them into, namely, a paint similar to watercolor that is no longer permanent if re-wet or saturated. You then need to store your beautiful canvas painting behind glass if you want it to last longer than your dog. A second approach is to use an acrylic binding medium, like matte or gloss medium, to thin down your paints. This greatly slows drying time while also improving the viscosity of the paint, an especially helpful trait if you work with heavy body acrylics. Because matte medium contains additional polymer binder, it won't weaken the film of the painting, and you don't need to worry so much about water or humidity, unless you live in Houston, of course. In which case, you'll want to use a varnish as well. Perhaps put a life vest on it. Fortunately, we live in the 21st century, with all its advances in modern chemistry. Some of these have been improvements in water-based paints, including the addition of slow-dry acrylics to several major brands. These can be a wonderful addition to your painter's kit, but make sure you don't lay them on too thickly, as you'll be waiting a long time for them to dry. Like a really long time. I recommend using these colors in an area of the painting where you need extra open time, while saving normal paints for layers and backgrounds you wish to add quickly. But you may find that acrylic's dry time is most annoying not on the canvas, but on the palette. One of the most hopelessly futile endeavors an artist can embark upon is to attempt to mix a color to perfectly match a previous section of an acrylic painting. This is so not because of the complexities of the color spectrum, for they are many, but because acrylics actually darken when they dry. It drives me crazy. This happens because the polymer binder is white while wet, just like matte medium. And when it dries clear. I need a vacation. You must anticipate this value change by adding extra white. Anticipating this and mastering the value shift simply comes with practice. Lots and lots of practice. I'm still practicing. Yeah. Also keep in mind that soft body acrylics tend to dry more slowly, though they can be tricky to blend on the canvas and don't have that rich painterly feel. Who said painters were rich? In summary, I recommend a multifaceted approach to the drying time puzzle. Did I even have lunch? Use a misting bottle, but only sparingly, to assist with mixing on the palette. Don't spray the actual canvas because it can make the painting run, unless you're spraying the backside of the canvas. It's pretty good. Add a few drops of matte medium to your colors, unless you want to build texture, in which case there are dozens of gels and pastes to have fun with. If you're working on a large piece and you know you'll need to spend a lot of time matching previous colors, make a tiny painted sketch first to plan and pre-mix large batches of color. You can then store these in airtight jars. Just don't forget to label the formula and to what part of the painting they belong, and to which painting they belong. If you're working on a smaller painting and can get by without filling jars of toxic sludge, simply purchase a sealable palette tray with a sponge inside and disposable palette or wax paper. Your paints won't dry in these, so long as the sponge stays wet, but be forewarned, they will eventually dilute your paint and make it run, and sometimes grow mold, unless you put a tiny drop of bleach in with the water. If you've tried all these tricks and still aren't happy with your acrylics, I might simply recommend switching to oils. Thanks for watching, and now let's get to the easel.
You have now completed this lesson.